A question I've had recently is, when did budget mechanical keyboards get so affordable, and more importantly, are they worth buying? Well, to find out the answer to that question, I've got this Ajazz AK871, and to be honest, this keyboard's definitely got some potential, but regardless, are budget mechanical keyboards worth buying in 2024? And the answer is yeah, kind of. A good friend of the channel, Jim's Tech, sent out this Ajazz keyboard today, so a big thank you to him. He does really help out with the content here. I massively appreciate that. However, it's more of a Starfield looking keyboard, and to be honest, it looks pretty unique. I do really like the look of this keyboard, but it could be an acquired taste. Luckily, Ajazz do different colorways, so if this one's not your favorite, you could always go with a different option. Even so, it's good to see budget mechanical keyboards have decent features in 2024, because after all, who really wants to game and type on a rubber dome keyboard? Odd wager, not very many. But taking a look at the Ajazz AK871, and it's a 10 keyless, which is my favourite keyboard design, that and the 75%ers, and it also has 2.4 GHz via a USB dongle, and it also has Bluetooth as well, so you can always connect this to like an iPhone or an iPad via Bluetooth, which is always good to see. I wouldn't recommend using Bluetooth for gaming, where you're going to be using the 2.4 GHz, but regardless, that is an option for you. There's no USB port on this keyboard because there's no way of charging it or using it wired. That is because the batteries in this are AAA batteries. This could be a downside to some, or maybe a pro to others. But in terms of battery life, there's absolutely no issues which I've had, because I haven't even needed to change the batteries yet, and I've had it for like 2 months now. So yeah, battery life is not a concern on this keyboard. Also helping with that battery life is the total lack of lighting and RGB, which may be a con for a lot of you out there, which I totally understand. But for me personally, I'm not really that bothered about RGB, and if I needed to see the lettering at night, I've got a light bar anyway, so it's really not that much of a problem, and I'd rather take the extra battery life. There's 2 switch options straight from the factory. There is a blue switch and a red linear, and that's the one I've got today. To be honest, it's not the best switch I've ever used. I've probably been spoiled by more higher end switches in higher end keyboards, which is totally fine, but I would rather take this red linear switch over a rubber dome any day of the week. But more importantly, a feature which saves this keyboard in my opinion is it's hot swappable. So if you wanted to put a better keyboard switch in it, and if you wanted to do some mods, that is definitely a possibility, and it's great to see that on this keyboard. So if you're cool with all those features, the typing experience is what matters the most. And to be honest, typing on this keyboard it's okay, it's nothing special, it's not the most amazing keyboard I've ever used in the world, but that's reflected in the price. If you're spending this amount of money on a keyboard, you're not going to be expecting the best typing experience ever. It sounds pretty good and it's totally usable, so if you're just typing up emails all day, I mean, this keyboard would be perfectly fine for it. And when I did my typing test, I actually got the highest words per minute with this keyboard, so yeah, it's perfectly viable. And the script for this video, along with a few others, were written on this keyboard, so yeah, I can definitely use it for work. I don't really play competitive games all too much anymore. I kind of retired from that, but just like the typing experience, gaming on a keyboard like this will be not great, but it will be totally fine. I play some Battlefield from now and again, and I've had no issues with this keyboard, and I felt like my gameplay was basically the same if I were to use something like the AK820 Pro from Ajazz or the AL66 from Unzi. However, if you are a very competitive gamer, I would recommend picking up the AK820 Pro or another keyboard, because they have a wired functionality and arguably better switches as well. I'm not too sure what the input delay is with the 2.4 GHz on this, but it felt fine for me. But if you're very, I don't know what the word is, you're very susceptible to input lag, this keyboard might not be the one for you. But if you're a pretty casual gamer like me, you wouldn't have any problems with this keyboard, to be honest. So both the gaming and typing performance are absolutely solid, and that's the same with the build quality. And to be honest, I was quite surprised that this keyboard is as sturdy as it is. There's absolutely zero deck flex for the most part, unless if you're like very strong or something like that. But what matters is while you're typing, you're not going to be having that much deck flex on the keyboard, which is brilliant to see. I think the biggest concern that a lot of you gamers and typists will have with this keyboard is the lack of a gasket mount. This results in a horrible pingy sound, which is not great while typing, I'll be honest. But you could always rectify this with some keyboard mods like foam and tape, and that will get this keyboard sounding quite a bit better. And speaking of modding keyboards, I might mod this keyboard with new switches, foam and maybe tape. And to be honest, I don't really know what I'm doing too much, so it'd be like a bit of a journey video, but you can stay subscribed for that. To be expected at this price point, the keycaps are the cheaper ABS plastic, which isn't as durable as its double shot PBT counterpart, so that is a bit of a shame right there. However, when you're paying like $37 for a keyboard, you can't really complain about the ABS plastic on a keycap because it's reflected in the price. It's good to see a budget keyboard have some extra features which I would class as not make or break, but nice to have. The first one being are the adjustable feet at the back. This is always good to see on a keyboard because everyone has different preferences, and I like to kick the feet up on this as it gives me a better angle for typing. So that's great to see on a board like this. Also, there's quite a bit of macro function built into this keyboard. You can open up emails, open up your web browser, and the calculator app and stuff like that in Windows. And of course, you can do your media key, so play, pause, fast forward, that sort of stuff. So that's good to see on a keyboard like this. And lastly, there's one extra feature, which to be honest is extremely niche, but the sort of the blue plastic cover is magnetic and you can swap that out. So if you wanted a different look, you could always swap that out. It's very niche, but it's good to see. So low-end budget mechanical gaming keyboards are certainly getting very good in 2024. I would take one of these over an RGB infused rubber dome keyboard any day of the week. You simply cannot beat a mechanical keyboard because they're just mechanical. However though, I don't think this is a perfect keyboard by any stretch of the imagination, but you can always mod it. It being hot swappable, and you can also open up the case as well, means you can get this keyboard and turn it into one that feels relatively high-end for the most part. But if you have an extra $20 to spend on a gaming keyboard, I recommend picking up the Ajazz AK871 Pro. This is a keyboard I made a video on, which you can watch up there, and I deemed it to be absolutely excellent. It has a lot more features than the 871 today, and yeah, for the extra $20, I think it's certainly worth it. So if you want to watch a video on it, yeah, I'll make that video. But if spending extra money isn't an option to you, budget mechanical keyboards are certainly getting very good these days, and yeah, I'll take one any day over a rubber dome. And you can always mod one like this later down the line, just make sure it's hot swappable. Also, speaking of modding, if you wanted to mod a keyboard without risking a very expensive one, a budget one is also an option as well. So if you want to see how another keyboard gets on, there is a video up there, and there's another keyboard video down there as well, and I'll catch you in the next one.